You get this grayish violet shade. I run this color over the whole sheet from top to bottom. You can even make the color a bit more intense. A bit more ochre here at first. Like that. And at the bottom too. Now I grab royal blue and cobalt. I make this mix a bit thicker than the previous layer. Carmine and just a tiny bit of burnt sienna, so the color doesn't get too brown. The mix is pretty thick, and I start making clouds. I want them a bit more blue. Now I take ochre with royal blue, but more diluted. And I go over with this shade. I tilt the board so this watery layer pushes the thicker clouds up from below. So it really looks like it's raining. The water moves the paint around and kind of paints the clouds for us. You can add a bit more. I add a more diluted paint with ochre. You can let the paint flow and blend until you like how it looks. Like that. The paint spreads like this. And at the bottom, you can just add a bit more ochre, so it's not too light down there. So the overall color is everywhere. When the clouds have extra water, I'll need the same colors as before. That's royal blue, carmine, ochre, burnt sienna. Just sienna, cobalt, and now we're adding some dark colors. Right now you can barely tell them apart on the palette. That's indigo, copper hematite, and black hematite. Now I go over part of the buildings with clean water. You could do the whole thing except the sky, but it's easier to break the work into steps so you don't have to rush. I go over the building with water, but not the roof, because it's almost the same color as the sky. I use clean water. I bring the water a bit lower than the building. Here I go around the cars. We don't need to touch them yet. Like that. And here. I go past the building because this part will fade into mist. The edges of the building will blur here. So I go past the edge to keep the line soft. This house too. And there's another house. You might need to re-wet something if the paper dries out. I start with the dark lines. I grab burnt sienna. Indigo. And I draw a line here under the cornice. It spreads right away. A nice contrasty line. I start filling in the buildings with color. I mix ochre, a bit of carmine, and royal blue. The paint starts spreading right away. So, I add more pigment, a bit more intense color. Here too. My mix is really thick. At first I use a really thick color, then I mix in a more transparent one. Lots of sienna. I'll add a bit more indigo so it's not so orange. Like that. I add color to the building here. Right now it's a kind of violet-gray shade. We made that dark line at the start. And now it's running down and blending with the rest of the building color. Now I grab a warmer color. That building is kind of pinkish ochre. I mix ochre and just a bit of carmine. And I use this shade to paint the part of the building. And I let the paint run too. My board is always tilted so the paint flows freely. Like that. Here I lift a bit so there's a shiny, reflective part in the middle of the road, lighter. Like that. Behind the people, I make it a bit darker. We'll do the people in the foreground in more detail with a dry brush later. But for now, I just sketch the general direction of the crowd wet on wet. And under them, the road is darker. There are reflections from the buildings and the people walking. I use the same colors, just in different combos. That's ochre, carmine, burnt sienna, royal blue, cobalt. So all the same colors as before, just mixed in different proportions. Right now, I have a mix of royal blue, burnt sienna, and some copper hematite too. Now we're going to use this technique. Sometimes I'll pick up really thick paint. On dry paper, it would look like this. But I'm going to paint it over another wet color, like this. And the thick paint won't have that rough edge, but it also won't spread out completely. So, a thicker color in a wetter wash doesn't spread all the way, but the edges of the stroke get soft, and the silhouette of the line stays visible. That's really important here because on a rainy day, sometimes there aren't any sharp lines. Things look a bit misty or foggy, but I still want the shapes to be clear enough so you can tell what's what on the bike. Now I'm picking up this mix. I'm mixing a dry shade from them. At first, everything was really wet, and I had to keep tilting the board because everything needed to flow. But now it's the opposite, super dry brush. I'm barely using any water on the brush, only when I rinse it. I'm making these puddle edges in some spots where the water starts to shine. They're horizontal and cross over the reflections. That sometimes happens on a really rainy day. Everything reflects vertically. And these puddle lines are horizontal, the opposite. Here too. It'll look nice here. The reflection is warm, and this crossing highlight is cool. The titanium white is tinted a bit with royal blue, so you get this play of warm and cool. Here, the shade turned out a bit too blue. All right, and I'd like to make the accents on this building a bit stronger. And this direction by the windows. and I think I'll stop here. Let me take a look without all the extra visual noise. Yep, I'm wrapping up.